Time for the French newspapers now on France 24. Florence with me here in the studio. Yesterday, at this time, we were talking about the government announcing French unemployment topped 3 million for the first time for a long, long time. Now the government saying it wants to hire 40,000 new teachers.
40,000 new teachers. It's on the front page of Libération. Urgent, looking for 40,000 teachers. Now, this was one of President François Hollande's campaign promises. He's now trying to make good on that. So the education minister, Vincent Payon, has launched a recruitment campaign for 2013. So this should be greeted with, as good news because it's creating jobs in the public sector. But turns out it's not so simple. It turns out that it's hard to find candidates that qualify for the jobs. And Libération looks at this further in their editorial. They say that you could blame the Sarkozy years for all sorts of reforms that were carried out that drove people out of the sector. But the problem actually runs deeper, according to Libération. According to Libération, a country that struggles to find and hire teachers isn't going so well. It's a country that's in crisis. But according to Libération, the crisis isn't a financial one because the budget's there. The problem is that the career choice of being a teacher is being somewhat shunned by younger generations. The idea of becoming a teacher isn't something that's valued. It's degraded. So Libération says that to turn things around, you really need to find a way to value a teaching job.
Okay, and the poor unemployment figures also bringing about a debate in the newspapers about competitiveness here in France, something, again, we touched on yesterday. But Le Figaro, they've interviewed the CEO of Renault about it.
That's right, Carlos Ghosn. He's here on the cover of Le Figaro, and it says that Renault his CEO is sounding the alarm on competitiveness. Now, according to Ghosn, improving France's competitiveness is a question of survival for the country. And he says that the main problem here in France is the cost of hiring, which is very high, and the lack of flexibility. Now, his interview comes on the day that the Mondial de l'Auto, a big car fair, opens here in Paris. And in the editorial of Libération, they focus more on this, and they wonder, when is France going to put in place a real industrial policy? And Le Figaro blames the industry minister, Arnaud Montebourg, for preferring trade unions to CEOs. And Figaro says that he should really listen to CEOs, however, because the future of France's automobile industry is very bleak and losing in competitiveness. And Le Figaro agrees with Ghosn. They say that the main problem is the high cost of hiring, the 35-hour work week, the lack of flexibility. This means that companies can't invest, they can't plan for the future, they can't adapt to the world that's changing around them. So what really needs to be done is for the industry to be restructured.
And talking about that bleakness, workers from another French car giant trying to save their jobs, aren't they?
This is on the cover of L'Humanité, the communist newspaper today, looking at the plant, the PSA Peugeot Citroën plant in Aulnay-sous-Bois. Now, workers there are wanting to save 3,300 jobs that might be cut there. So on the cover of L'Humanité, you read that the plant there wants to save its jobs, and on Saturday, a big rally is going to be held in Aulnay by workers to try to save their jobs there.
Okay, well, let's move on to something completely different now. This is something we mentioned again yesterday, actually, but the President of the Lower House of Parliament has been drawing even more criticism now for hiring his wife to be his parliamentary assistant.
That's right, Claude Barthelon. He hired his wife, Véronique, and he's been drawing criticism, especially because he had just called on members of parliament to be more transparent and to show an example in the time of crisis. Now, it looks like his transparency has somewhat turned against him. Le Figaro takes a closer look, and it turns out that he's not the only one in parliament that has hired a member of his family. In fact, quite a few, 9.6% to be exact, have hired either their spouse or children, or sometimes both, as parliamentary assistants or advisors. Now, the members of parliament that Le Figaro interviewed often didn't want to be cited. They didn't want their names to be given, but a lot of them said that their families work around the clock and they need them.
Okay. Talking about corruption, talking about politics. No, we're talking about handball. Anglo world doesn't even know what handball is, I don't think. But there's a big corruption scandal in handball in France.
Well, handball is one of the king of sports here. It's very highly regarded here in France, and it is in a big scandal right now. Now, French handballers are seen as heroes, especially because they won the Olympics this year. But there you see it on the front page of Le Parisien aujourd'hui en France. Corruption has caught up with handball. Now, France's biggest team, Montpellier, is at the heart of the this scandal. And this scandal involves rigged games and big bets. Basically, Montpellier played against, back in May, played against a weaker team, Cresson, and lost, which was surprising to everybody. And police wonder if this was done on purpose because their loss coincided with also an abnormal amount of bets that were placed for Montpellier to lose. And so police are wondering if maybe this was done on purpose. It's on the front page of L'Équipe, the sports newspaper today as well. Montpellier in the red, in the trouble zone. And an investigation has been launched, and part of that is going to be to watch the game and to see if it was really fair play.
Okay, it's happened in other sports. Now it's happened in handball as well. Flo, thank you very much for all this with the papers on France 24.